Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Stallings, and
Jeff.
we are covering the Microsoft press event. Our thoughts and feelings on it. We just watched it, and
Unfortunately, it's just the two of us because Scott has to Scott is studying for his finals
yeah.
coming up this week, I guess.
So good luck to him on that because finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you want to start with the the Xbox event? Because there was a lot.
Uh, well, first of all, I you said you didn't watch EA's, but I want to hit a couple of things on there first. First of all, they opened with the Tom Brady drum line, that just a bunch of people in Tom Brady jerseys doing with a proper drum line uh, for the Madden story thing. It had some cringe moments in that whole thing. Like, I don't know which YouTuber they had, but he either wasn't comfortable at all, or there was like something wrong with his teleprompter or something like that. And they had the guys from NBC Sports Network's Men in Blazers to talk about FIFA 18 and Cristiano Ronaldo in spandex getting his data captured.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I missed that.
Well, at least there was one thing that was worth watching for, and that was a EA Originals title called A Way Out. It's by the guys who did Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons,
Okay.
and the guy who presented this was you could tell he was nervous, but he looked like he was having a lot of fun being in front of all those people and on all these screens everywhere. Uh, Anyways, it's a prison game that is that requires two people to play. It's going to have both couch and online co-op, and it's pretty much going to be played in split screen. And from the looks of things, you could have it where, like, one character is having is doing like a scripted out event on one side, and the other character is just walking around doing whatever he is while that event's going on. And that was pretty cool.
Interesting.
But basically, the story is it's two guys, and they're in prison, and they have to escape from prison, and then eventually it leads to a couple of different things. It looked like there were some vendettas going on. It looked like one of the guys uh, was going to a hospital for the birth of his child. Some interesting stuff. But the bulk of it was the back end bulk of it was Star Wars Battlefront 2, which was noteworthy because one of the big things that they talked about was an offline story mode for Battlefront 2, which is good for this game because they didn't have it in the first one, and there was a big to do, and it actually started. I don't know if it actually started with a tweet from John Boyega. Have you seen episode 7? Are you
Yes.
big in? Okay. So I don't know if it started with. I don't know if it started with Finn's actor with the tweet, but they did a big thing before they announced the story. Was there was going to be a story? Was they had his tweet on there, and it got retweeted and liked, and everyone tweeted their own different thing relating to that. Uh, so that was one of the big things. Another big one was it's going to have couch co-op, at least for the story mode, I believe. I don't know. There were a lot of things that were said there. There was even some things that said. There was even one thing that I think they said free DLC.
That would be different.
for EA, yeah.
Yeah.
And there were also a couple of things that had PlayStation logos before them, like Battlefront 2 and FIFA 18. So we might see some things from them tomorrow during Sony's presentation. So, FYI.
Things to look out for.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, A Way Out looks cool. Definitely something to keep an eye on. But yeah, moving on. Microsoft and the Xbox One X, which if you kind of take the sort of initials from it, it's XBOX.
Yeah.
They created the Xbox.
Yeah. I gotta say, not a fan of their naming schemes at the moment. Like, it's
Which is worse? Microsoft with the Xbox One X, or just the Xbox One line, or Nintendo. Period.
well, so it's like they've kind of taken, like, Microsoft's like, so Nintendo thinks they can name things more ridiculously, do they? Well, hold my beer. 'Cause, like, the One S seems, well, I mean, the Xbox One line seems weird because I get the premise behind it, that it's one device that's the entire media center. That was their goal, but then it just started getting a little ridiculous, because you've got the One S, which is like the small, but like everyone else names things. Well, at least Sony. It's like, oh, you've got the PS3, you've got the PS3 Slim, you've got the PS3 Super Slim. Like they are very, very accurate as to what version you're getting when you buy one of their consoles. The PS4 Pro is probably the only weird one, because it's like not even that it's not Scorpio at this point, or Xbox One X. And the Xbox One X, the X and the S are too similar sounding, so it's going to cause a little bit of confusion with people who are not.
Well, apparently this is the smallest Xbox they've ever created, so maybe it should have been called the Xbox One XS.
Yes, exactly. Like that, I'm kind of surprised we didn't go that route. But
I actually got a message from Jacob Dobbs after they announced that, and he said, "Oh, when are they going to announce the Xbox One Z next year?"
well, again, Microsoft's just pulling a Nintendo, because we had Pokemon X, Pokemon Y. You know, that's
Yeah, where's the Xbox One Y?
yeah, that's next on the list. That's
Well, he theoried it was just It was just the Windows 10 version of the of the Xbox Store. So yeah, that's going to be available. I believe the date was it was either October or November. I think it was November.
I missed the date. I was too busy sitting there thinking that there are 3 X's in this name now. We are getting dangerously close to the Xbox Triple X. So I completely missed the date for trying to form that joke in my head with the other people I was watching the stream with.
So
But
it's going to be
definitely a fall release, so it's going to be out for the holiday season.
yeah. So
So
holiday season release, $500 if you got it lying around.
$500.
You can
So
have the most powerful Xbox ever,
my problem
as well
with,
as the smallest one.
my problem with that is that's $500.
Yeah.
Like,
And if it's anything like the PS4 Pro, it's not going to look good.
I mean, granted, the tech specs that they threw out for the Xbox One
How
X.
about all those teraflops?
I mean,
What does that even mean? I'm sure it means something, but it just sounds like
it's number of processes, it's
kerfuffle.
benchmarks, basically. The thing is, how many developers are actually going to take advantage of that extra beefier hardware? They did say that there were going to be multiple games that are going to get enhancements for the Xbox One X. Developers are going to upgrade a lot of games. They mentioned several games in particular. The one that kind of stood out to me as kind of silly was Rocket League. They're like, yes, we're going to upgrade. We're going to get an upgraded version of Rocket League to 4K. It's like, well, yeah, but doesn't it already do 4K on PC? Like, that's the thing that kind of...
Well, you got to have it 4K on your Xbox.
And then you've got to have a 4K TV. That's the only thing I really don't get about this whole concept. It's like it's $500. You need a compatible TV to get the most out of it. Like,
and the developer needs to figure out how to do it in the first place.
The developer needs to be, and then they're still not getting Xbox One X exclusives. They've been towing that line that they're going to be, if it's playable on one, it's playable on the entire line. So the only thing you're going to get for it is, you're going to get better graphics, but for that, like, is $500 worth the better graphics when most people aren't going to have the other accessories needed to eke out the 4K? Like, that's my question about it, because, like, that's a lot of stuff. When, especially, like, if I wanted to upgrade that much, like, I could just go ahead and upgrade my computer, get, a 4K monitor, get, decent video card, and, it's a little more of an investment for both of those things, but so many of the games that they showed at their E3 event are also going to be on PC or specifically Windows 10. So, again, with the exclusives, that's...
Yeah, it's one of those things where you see it and it's like, exclusive for Xbox One and Windows 10. I'm like, well, another reason I don't need to buy an Xbox.
Exactly. That's the thing that really gets... I mean, I get where they're coming with it, branching out and creating more of an ecosystem, because that was one of the things that really, really kind of pissed me off. I had a 360, or I have a 360, and this was during the days of, like, closed environments, so anything on the 360 is on the 360. And I picked up the Orange Box, which is the Valve triple pack of... It's got, like, Half-Life 2...
Portal, Half-Life 2,
and
Team Fortress 2?
Yeah. But the problem is, Team Fortress 2 got so many updates for the PC. So you got new weapons, new accessories, all sorts of new stuff, new game modes. None of that came to the 360.
Oh, by the way, it's now free on PC.
It is. Team Fortress 2, free to play on PC.
How do you feel about that?
I've been playing... I haven't been playing it recently, but I had played TF2 for a really long time. So, like, free to play, that's great, because it just brought in a new influx of players and kind of kept things going, and then they kept adding some new game modes. But I stopped playing when Overwatch came out, so... But the problem was that none of the updates came to the 360 because Microsoft was really adamant about keeping their ecosystem very secure. So if they wanted to do updates, you had to pay for updates or make them paid DLC. And Valve was like, no. And then that kind of ended their working relationship together, because Valve was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that again. But now that Microsoft's kind of expanding, I'm glad, because it seems like they're allowing for a lot of things to, intermingle, especially things like Minecraft. Like, that was one of the biggest things that I laughed at during their presentation. They had the Minecraft demonstration, and they have in the Minecraft world, they had icons for all of the different platforms it was available on. So they actually showed during the Xbox event, the Microsoft event, a Switch.
Yeah, I saw that.
I laughed because it just seems so silly.
It was their yearly reminder that, hey, we have Minecraft.
We own Minecraft.
Yes, we own Minecraft. Well, just like Sea of Thieves is the yearly reminder that they own Rare.
Yeah. I mean, what I saw from Sea of Thieves, I really enjoyed.
Oh, it looked great.
The only thing, I think that one was one I couldn't figure out if it was going to be exclusive to console or if it was eventually going to come to Windows 10. That was one of the
I
ones
thought
that
everything was console in Windows 10.
not everything. There were a couple of things that I saw that were specifically listed as the console, at least
Okay.
console exclusivity. So at the very least, it's going to be on the Xbox line first. Then it might come to um, Windows 10 or PC or other multi-platforms. Because that was one of the things. Like I had a really hard time following the event of what is actually exclusive because they basically threw the word exclusive in front of just about everything. And
Yeah.
some of the things I know were not exclusive, like the Dragon Ball Z.
Well, it's one of those things where they said, where they had on the video, launch exclusive. It was like, okay, so it's going to be first to launch here. That's actually the the phrase that they used to use, first to launch, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why did they switch to launch exclusive?
I have no idea.
Was that a marketing thing that they decided on?
Maybe. I mean, it. I guess it was just to emphasize the. I really think a lot of it was just to emphasize the exclusive because I know Phil Spencer during the event said that they had like 22 exclusive games.
Yeah, I think it was like 42 and just a little over half were
Yeah.
exclusive, which if you looked at the screen there every time there was another new trailer, it was like launch exclusive and not rarely, but fewer but there were fewer times where it said Xbox One and Windows 10 exclusive.
Mm-hmm. So, but it was. I have to say, I was actually rather impressed the fact that they did not spend so much time talking about the technical part. Like, I really expected the first half hour, 40 minutes almost, to be talking about 4K gaming, tech specs, and they didn't. They spent like 10 minutes on it. They're like, hey, this is the Scorpio is now Xbox One X. These are the stats. This is what we're going to be able to do for it. Hey, games. Which,
I think possibly it was because I think they think that the people that they're catering to probably know what 4K is, probably know a few different things. It's
well,
just what is the difference between the X and the original?
yeah, and then also they got torn apart in like the last two E3s, I believe, where they spent so much time talking about technical things. Like I know the launch, the E3 where they unveiled the Xbox One, they talked about all of the features it could do, and they kept mentioning TV. Like there was actually a channel that I used to subscribe to, where they were,
So that was the Xbox One reveal before E3, right?
yeah,
Where it was just TV, TV,
TV,
TV,
TV,
TV,
TV,
TV,
TV.
TV. I can't remember which who did the video on that, but that video was amazing. Where it's like TV, 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 TV,
It's like
sports,
we're just
sports,
gonna cut every time they say TV and add it into just, and that was
and
it,
the word sports.
and the word sports. So like that was like Microsoft has a history of that. So I think they finally learned, hey, let's show games. Let's not get bogged down with stuff. Like let's show games. That's what people want. Because I have to say, a lot of the games that they showed at the event, I was actually kind of intrigued by. I mean, I really have very little desire to buy an Xbox One of any Alphabet version, but some of those games look worth picking up. So it's like maybe I will. I don't know.
Well,
But again,
how many
oh,
of those games can you play on your computer right
that's the
now?
thing. Uh, because like I have a fairly beefy PC because I use it for recording, but I hate like I loathe with a passion having to get games set up on my PC because you have like driver issues at times. You've got hardware incompatibility issues. Like this game doesn't really work this. um, entire lines of cards are compatible with things, but every now and again you get something that's just like a little weird. So it happens that sometimes I'll download a game. It's like, yeah, it's not going to work right, or you have to come out with like a huge workaround. And so that's one of the reasons why I tend to still lean towards consoles, because like it's it's still fairly plug and play, and I can play it and record it without double taxing my system if I ever want to record something, because I've got the console doing all of the heavy lifting and then the PC basically just recording it. But if I'm playing and recording on the same PC, like I had trouble getting a decent recording trying to do a video chat while doing a live stream of these events. So like that that's technology sucks. Is where I'm going with that one.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of them are going to be available on PC. So it's like if you have a decent PC, you really don't have a need to buy an Xbox.
So should we just go down the list of what they presented?
Let's just go down the list.
Okay, so they after the Xbox One X stuff, they started with Forza Motorsport 7. And they showed a car, and they had I guess, the cringe moment of the event when they had two drivers standing on elevated platforms, which isn't the cringe part, but the fact that they had them there and they're supposed to be doing some gameplay stuff. It sounded like.
Yeah.
But they didn't really show them really doing any gameplay. At least it didn't to me.
I think what they did is they focused on the gameplay, but they didn't show the people, because there was a section where there was a driving section, and I think that was actually one of the people playing. I think it was one of the two of them. The cringy part for me is one of them you could tell was having a really uncomfortable time reading the teleprompter. Like
the second person?
No, the second person, the second person who came out, I actually kind of liked her, mostly because I found her lisp adorable, and like you could tell she wanted to have fun with it. But it was the first lady who walked out, and then she was also the one that did kind of the closing statement. Just like her voice could not have been more monotone. So it's like I don't know. She really did not sound.
Well, she's a race car driver, not an actor.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that was just she's not comfortable.
By the way, I want to apologize to IndyCar and Formula One because I'm apparently a curse whenever I watch any sort of racing event. Memorial Day the day before Memorial Day for the Indy 500, I was watching, and there was this terrible crash where one of the drivers ended up flipping end over end and tore right through the safety fence. Not just into the barrier, but into the fence. He walked away from it, but still, it was.
Well, that's mazel tov for that.
They had to actually stop the race for about half an hour just so that they could fix the fence.
Oh, that's.
Later that day, and actually I'm going to apologize to NASCAR too, because they had the Coca-Cola 600, and in the middle of that race, a storm came through, so they had to stop racing for a little bit. And then yesterday I was watching the IndyCar race from Texas, and apparently halfway through, they had a bad enough wreck where they actually had to stop the race just to clean it up. And then today, first lap of the Formula One race in Montreal, somebody crashes into another driver. Two guys are out, and they have to bring out the pace car to settle everyone down.
You're just bad luck. You're causing all just by watching. They know you're watching, and so therefore they crash.
I should just watch wrestling from now on, because at least at least when they hurt each other, it's on purpose. At least I hope so. I mean, occasionally you'll get a botch, but you hope it's not a bad enough one where they're really hurt.
Yeah.
Anyways, Forza Motorsport, they were out there. They showed a car. They had drivers. And that was it.
Yep. And Forza coming out on Xbox and Windows. So, like...
this October, if you're interested.
Yep.
And then the next one was a new Metro game, Metro Exodus. And one of the interesting things about it, or at least from what I saw, based on, at the very least, the last game that they had, because I don't know if any of the other earlier games had it, where, at least in the last game, they had it where the air was toxic on the surface.
Yeah.
So you had to have like this filter on there. First of all, was that the way it was for the earlier games, or just that game?
I honestly don't know. I've not gotten into the Metro games. They're ones that I wanted to play, but I was bogged down with something else that was too similar. I don't remember if it was a Fallout
Right.
or something else, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, one of the big things that I caught there during the trailer there was him taking off the mask after he steps outside into the open. And I was like, whoa, that's different. Or at least different from the last game.
What I loved about that was the landscapes. Just everything we saw was...
Oh, it was all very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nicely done. At the very least.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that coming out next year. And then there was Assassin's Creed Origins, which is going to be set in ancient Egypt. And you're going to have this hawk, I guess, that is going to help you track your enemies somehow. It's amazing how hawks sort of devolved and lost that trait.
Yeah.
Anything to say about that?
I've been out of the Assassin's Creed game for a while. Like, that's just not one that has really done much for me. So
Okay,
I mean, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt when it comes out, but I'm not terribly... I mean, I will say it looked a little more interesting because it...
More swords, less guns.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really kind of threw me for a loop a little bit for this one is the Assassin's Creed games. I'm so used to landscape, like buildings, towers, things to interact with, whereas there's a lot of that in this one, but like then there's also so much of the desert aesthetic that's like, oh, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So a lot of the parkour type things that you're used to for the Assassin's Creed game just felt like in some of the
Oh, that is bullshit.
what?
I'm watching Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and the referee blew a play dead because he lost sight of the puck, despite the fact the puck was out in the middle of the crease, and he blew it dead right as a Predators player knocked the puck into the net. That's bullshit. Okay, sorry. Assassin's Creed. Anything else you wanted to say about that?
Not really. I mean, I'll wait for it to come out and see how it is because I know the Assassin's Creed series is kind of hit or miss for a lot of people lately. So I'll I'll wait. So,
Okay, next game. Player Unknown's Battlegrounds. What exactly was that?
I have no idea.
It looked like it was some sort of shooter, sort of team shooter thing.
It.
It was a thing.
I have a friend who was trying to explain it to me, and I was just very lost. Like, yeah, this is something that they've been kind of working on. Kind of like, it's like a DayZ, the DayZ game, like King of the Hill type thing, and that's really all I could take from it. Is hey, it's kind of an open world esque shooter with multiplayer and frying pans. I know the frying pan was a major thing, and that's about the extent of what I know. So
Apparently, it wasn't the only. Was it a competitive shooter? Was that what they described it as?
yes,
Okay. The Darwin Project. I'm skipping ahead a couple, but there was that.
Darwin Project is when they showed the trailer for it. Like the early section, like the guy pulling out the axe, and you hear one or two players remaining. All I could think of was, this is the Hunger Games, right? Like this is what we're doing. Like,
And it was apparently being announced by a guy named Jethro Tull. Totally a fake name. What's your real name, Aqualung? Yeah, that looked interesting. Deep Rock Galactic. Do you remember this one?
I do.
Okay.
It's dwarf mining in space. And that's
Oh yeah. Okay, now it's coming back to me.
it's like
I think I called this one No Man's Sky, the good version.
that that you were not the only person to use that comment. So yeah, that's yeah.
Well, we hope it's the good version.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is, I believe it's available to be pre-ordered on Steam at the moment. I think. But I don't know. I'm blanking if it's out. I just have listed that it's also on Steam. I don't know if that means that it's available on Steam now or if it's pre-order on Steam. I didn't write that down on my notes, but it's like it's another one. It's like I could go ahead and get this on a computer and just go from there. So yeah.
And then after that, speaking of things that are probably going to be on the computer, State of Decay 2 coming early next year.
State of Decay 2 was one of the ones that I couldn't find information on if it was going to be console exclusive or console and Windows 10, or if it's, at some point it's going to migrate to another platform.
I think the original was Xbox and PC.
I know it's available on Steam, so yeah.
I remember at the old site I had to make an exception for it for the Xbox exclusives because it was either going to be if we didn't have that, it was either going to be was Halo 5 the one that came out that year?
I honestly have no idea.
It was going to be like Halo. Or was it Dead Rising? Might have been Dead Rising. Dead Rising 3 and Sons of Rome were gonna be the two games that were console exclusive that were gonna go up for it, and it was like, okay, we need to add a third game here. State of Decay. That was a good one. We'll add it.
I mean, it looked neat, so I mean, I could go with that, but
yeah. So hopefully this one looks just as neat. Let's see. We already talked Darwin Project. We already talked Minecraft. I don't know how this one was supposed to be said. Was it supposed to be Dragon Ball Z Fighter or Dragon Ball Fighter Z?
I think Fighter Z,
Okay.
but I mean I could be wrong on that. But I mean it's a Dragon Ball fighting game done by the same people who did Guilty
Do all
or not Guilty Gear. Yeah, Guilty Gear.
Okay.
So like I
Was
have
it
to say
me, or did they look more hand drawn than usual for their
It's-
fighting games?
it uses the same engine. So as Guilty Gear XRD, that one I don't know how to pronounce. But so yeah, it has
Pronounced ease.
a lot more of the fluid animation style from that game. But speaking of someone who grew up playing like the PS1 Dragon Ball Z fighting games, I'm actually really excited for that one. That one looks and feel like that looks like playing an episode of Dragon Ball Z to me. So I'm kind of excited about that one.
And that one going to be multi-platform?
I imagine so. I couldn't find any information on it, but I really don't think that one's going to be Xbox only. I think that's going to be Xbox, Windows, and PS4. Probably not going to be Switch, but
No.
probably not.
Bamco.
Yeah. Because they've got another game on the list that I'm 99% sure is not coming out on the Switch either. So,
Code Vein,
yep.
the token JRPG.
Except it's not really a JRPG. It's
Really?
It's more Dark Souls style. So it's very action combat oriented. It's I know I could only find a little bit about it, but I know it's about dealing with vampires, like creepy monster vampires. But it's not your traditional JRPG. It's something different. So it just has the JRPG aesthetics, which I'm kind of okay with. So
So going back a couple games, Black Desert. It's some sort of MMORPG.
Black Desert got a lot of press when it came out on PC because it's a very stylized. People talk about how it's the prettiest MMO on the market. And I know a bunch of people who played it. I never tried it out myself because I used to play Final Fantasy XI, so I got really burned out on MMOs because if you want one that'll just destroy your soul and eat your entire life, Final Fantasy XI is it. And so after playing
Wasn't that the point of MMORPGs, to eat your soul and destroy your life?
Well, they want to continue eating your wallet. Eating your soul is something completely different. That's just something special to certain MMOs. But I never got into any other MMOs because like 11 consumed so much time and effort for the enjoyment factor. But I know several people who played it. A couple of people from the old site used to talk about it like a ton. And so the fact that it's coming to a console is actually impressing a lot of people. I'm just kind of smiling and nodding because again, it's an MMO. I don't have the time or effort for those anymore. So
Oh, kind of like when they're gushing about when they would gush about the Neptune games. It would just sort of nod your head. You're just like,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
going this way.
I'm glad you enjoy it, and I'm gonna just step over here now, and
I've actually tried to play through the rebirth of the first Neptune games, and
I'll
don't
get
know.
into them one of these days.
I can see why they would like it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
makes
sorry, go.
complete sense, but I'll one of these days I'll give it a try. I know a lot of the viewers on my channel on YouTube are like, "Why haven't you played this? You totally love it." I'm like, at this point, it's just the principle of the thing. So many people are like, "You have to play this game," that when you get so many people, it almost feels like a cult, and you're like, yeah, no, no.
So moving on to uh, the last night. There wasn't really much shown about this one. Were you able to find anything about it, or
Which one?
the last night? It
No, I
looked
couldn't
like
find
a pixelized sort of.
I couldn't find any
thing.
information on it beyond the trailer. It looks like it might be a timed exclusive from what people are talking about. There's no definitive information, but that game, that super stylized game, just amazed me. Like it reminded me of like Snatcher for the Sega CD, or well, Snatcher was also based off of like the Blade Runner style, so it was like a pixelated blade. Like I don't even know how to describe it, but I saw that game and was like, I actually kind of want to play this. I have no idea what it's about, but I have to try it.
And then after that, we had a game that was created by someone who had a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
The Artful Escape.
Uh,
Oh, I want what that guy's having.
I saw that. I'm like, I have to drop acid and play this game.
In case you guys didn't watch the event, there was like this guy who was sort of running across, and he was just sort of sort of jogging casually, and then he jumped, and immediately this guitar just showed up, and he just started wailing on it, and just so many different visuals going on at the same time. It was an experience. Oh wow! So that happened.
That was a thing, and I'm like, okay, sure. I need a lot of drugs, but let's sure. Hopefully they legalize marijuana in my state before that comes out, because I have a feeling that's the only way to really play that game. And
I'll just get a doctor to write me a script here, because medical weed's legal in Michigan, so I'll just get a script. Code Vein, we talked about that. Sea of Thieves, we talked about that. Tacoma.
I know nothing about that game, and apparently it's been mentioned like I think
I've
last
seen-
E3.
Yeah, I've seen it mentioned before. I don't know much about it though.
Like I know nothing about it, and the trailer that they showed off showed absolutely nothing about it. Like I'm like, I saw the trailer. Like this answers no questions. I have no idea what this. Okay, sure, whatever. And I wrote it off completely because it's creepy like wireframe ghost people walking around, and that was all I got from it.
Okay.
I have no
And then
idea
there's
what the game is about. They showed me nothing.
And then there was the one that got me excited and then pissed me off 2 seconds later, when there was a squirrel jumping around and it was like, Conquer! And I was like, no.
I thought
No.
the same thing. I'm like, Conquer! No, it's not Conquer. Screw you.
Super Lucky's Tale. It's like a kid squirrel thing. I would say it's Conquer without all the adult humor, but really Conquer. I don't think Conquer was actually much of a collectathon, was it?
Kind of.
Well, not in the not like
Not in like the
the
Banjo-Kazooie
Banjo-Kazooie.
kind of sense, no. But I think it... No,
This
I
one
guess
looked
it
like-
probably would have classified more as just a 3D platformer rather than
Okay.
collectathon, so yeah.
So Super Lucky's Tale. It looks like someone saw what was going on with the fans trying to support Yooka-Laylee, and they're like, you know what? Let's try this. Let's see if we can make our own collectathon. And so they, for some reason, went with a squirrel and went with that, which it looked interesting. It looked pretty cool. It looks promising.
I mean, it couldn't be any worse than Yooka-Laylee. Is
Oh boy.
I mean,
Uh,
I didn't back Yooka-Laylee. I haven't picked it up yet, but I've heard that it's the best thing about like that generate like the N64 generation of collectathons, but it's got the same problem that that generation of games has, like with control issues and camera angles and whatnot. So it's like it's all of the good and all of the bad. But that's about all I've heard from it. So it's like at least this one, hopefully they'll refine it so that it's got some, you know.
well, there was a video that I saw of you know the Happy video game nerd, right? Derek Alexander, I think is his name. Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
yeah, he did a video on ukulele, and one of the things that he talked about was that the world of it seemed like nothing you did actually mattered, and one of the things that he talked about was uh, this uh, this one character that was in a pot getting boiled early on in the game, and you defeat the people that are trying to boil her, and she's just sitting in the pot afterwards. She doesn't get out, she doesn't disappear or anything, she's just there. And that was just one of the things that he brought up that were kind of like that, where you did something, but then nothing really happened of consequence.
yeah.
So hopefully, whoever is developing this has taken that to heart when they've developed this game. Also, I hope Bloodstained is really good, because I really don't want three big price retro revival games like that to just go into the shitter.
I'm
I
I'm I've played the demo from last year.
Yeah.
Because I backed the project, so I got the PC demo, and it plays well. I know there's some arguments about people like the movement seems too stiff and slow, but it really has about the same flow as Symphony of the Night. So I think depending on what the launch version looks like, there could be some improvements to some of the lighting, because they're going with a dynamic lighting engine that I'm not 100% sold on, personally. But just from playing the demo, I do not regret the backing the project. As long as it comes out something remotely like that, I'll be fine with it.
Okay.
I don't see it getting the Mighty Number Nine issue of, you know, this demo comes out and it looks great, and then suddenly the game comes out and like everything is like cut in half in terms of graphic capability, because they,
Also, we hope it doesn't have the Mighty Number Nine issues of launch.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why Mighty Number Nine had a lot of, because it's like they were so, they had a very overzealous project. They're like, we want it on everything, and instead of like making it worthwhile on certain versions or trying to make the best version for each particular platform, they're like, let's just make one version that kind of runs on everything. And that was, I really think, a lot of the problem with that. But I don't think they're doing that with Bloodstained, because they've already said that the different versions are being handled by different groups. So, and I backed it, and I actually just changed all of my information over for backing for getting a Switch copy. So, you know, I'm in theory getting the lowest quality version. So if I still enjoy it off that, then hopefully the other versions will still be fantastic. So.
Hey, speaking of retro revivals, do we know when A Hat in Time is ever going to come out?
No clue. I have no idea.
Okay. So continuing, Cuphead. Speaking of things that have been around forever and have not released yet,
Yeah.
it's got a release date. Finally, it's coming September 29th. So hopefully the wait is worth it. Oh boy.
I was kind of hoping, you know, Cuphead coming out on multiple platforms, but it's just It's just Xbox and Windows. Because I know the development studio is like, hey, we're going to start that, and then Microsoft swooped in. But I was hoping at some point it might come to another console, but it doesn't look like it will. But it'll be available on PC, so I can still get that, 1920s animation goodness if I want to.
I wonder why no one's ever tried doing that before. Do you think maybe the technology hadn't been there yet for someone to do that?
To do that style of gameplay?
Or
no, I think
or that style of graphics?
oh, that's
the gameplay.
that style of like 20s retro animation, like
Yeah.
super exaggerated. I think that style has been available for a really long time. It's just the amount of work needed to go into it to make it.
It just takes a lot of
Yeah.
work to do that.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why we don't see a lot of sprite games anymore, as opposed to 3D games. So, like, going back to Bloodstained, everyone was hoping Bloodstained would be like a 2D sprite-based game, but doing sprite animations, it's basically like animation. Like, you have each individual frame of motion as a separate image. So, if you wanted to have something really fluid and really especially in today's gamer mindset of 60 FPS, that means each frame of animation you're going to want 60 frames per second to make the most fluid thing imaginable. So like that's hundreds of thousands of animation frames depending on what you're doing in terms of attack animations, movement animations, things like that. And that takes forever. So instead they just do 3D modeling, and you can make a 3D model move so much faster than you can doing individual sprite animations like that. And I think Cuphead is basically doing it like like we're just doing complete hand-drawn style animations. So everything that happens is basically like drawing an old Disney movie versus 3D animation. So I really think that's one of the reasons why Cuphead has been delayed for so long, is because they keep wanting to go with that really awesome style.
Right. So after Cuphead got a release date, we got a very intense Terry Crews telling us about Crackdown 3.
Crackdown 3 Old Spice Edition!
My name is Freddy Fingers, y'all! Do you get that reference?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I had a friend tell me that they would buy Crackdown 3 if all of the cutscenes were just video clips of Terry Crews explaining the story by yelling at people. Like, that would be like a day one purchase for them. I'm like, I would
buy Crackdown 3 even without the system if all the characters were just voiced by an intense Terry Crews.
I mean, I can't. Did you ever play like the old Command and Conquer games?
No.
So the old Command and Conquer, they had like full motion video, but it was basically like actual people acting.
Yeah, I think Mark Hamill was in those, right?
I think he was in one of them. I don't know if he was in all of them. I only played Red Alert personally. So, but yeah, there were like that's how I want the entire story of Crackdown to be. Just every different character is just Terry Crews, just in that live action style. Like Terry Crews wearing a wig for one other character, Terry Crews not wearing a wig, Terry Crews in drag to be that's.
Should it be in like the old Sega CD shrunken box?
Yes, it has to be in the tiny, like, scaled down box so that they could compress the video to fit on a CD.
Wow.
I mean, either that or go... No, if they're gonna if it's on the Xbox One X, we should go like super like it's 4K like super high def to where you can see like every pore on Terry Crews's face like at any given moment. Like they just zoom in and it's like the most detailed picture
It'll
of
be
Terry
like
Crews.
that one Old Spice commercial where it just zooms so far in, and then it zooms
Oh,
back, and he's on a unicorn.
oh my god.
Or wait, it wasn't a unicorn. I think it was a tiger. Oh, whatever.
I don't remember. There were so many random animals in those commercials.
I'm on a horse.
Oh.
Then there were the indies, the indie montage. Did we catch any of them that were of interest?
So there was one that I saw. It was a Fable card game type thing that looked
Okay.
kind of interesting. There was a robot mech style game that I'm blanking on the title of at the moment that looked kind of interesting. Those were the only two that I caught that I'm like, hey, those look like games that I'd be interested in playing, and that was it. Everything
Okay.
else went by, and then I instantly forgot about it. So.
And then there was Ashen. What is that?
I don't know. I didn't like the art style. No one had a face. They were all weird faceless people and then they all died. And that was about what I took from it. It seems like some sort of like multiplayer like survival game, but like I literally
Wait, was that the one that I said looked like Journey, but with combat?
That's when you're like it's Journey with combat. Because it's basically it's like they showed off a lot of action sequences, but I didn't get a lot of like what is the actual gameplay like. I didn't get a lot of that, so I really had no idea. So, but
So let's move on to a game where we hopefully know what the gameplay is going to be like, and that is Life is Strange Before the Storm. This is a sequel to the original Life is Strange, right?
I actually think it's a prequel because the title it was
All right, Before
Life
the
is Strange
Storm.
Before the Storm. So I think it's supposed to be set as a sequel, and it's 3 episodes. But I have not played through all of Life is Strange, so I have no idea.
But it's supposed to be good, right?
It's
Depending on who you ask.
it's an experience is the
Okay.
best way that I could do it. It's
Is it a worthwhile experience?
I've enjoyed what I've played so far.
Okay.
So I can't say anything bad about it. It's one of those games like it's not as it's not like The Last of Us where it's The Last of Us has a very deep story, but it's also got a ridiculous gameplay system where it's also like survival horror. But what's the other? Heavy Rain. It's not like it's kind of Heavy Rain like where it's very story driven. So it's very much telling a story.
Okay.
And it's a very intense story. And like I said, I haven't even finished it, but apparently it's the ending can be like super feels and super heavy. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm hoping that, and from what I've heard from other people who have played all of Life is Strange, they're like this is going to be just as heavy hitting. So
Brace for feels impact.
brace for all the feels. So
Yes. And then after that, there was Middle Earth: Shadow of War, which is coming out October 10th, and it was they had sort of a demonstration of some things like where they showed him taking control of the big baddies instead of actually killing them. Correct?
Mm-hmm. I never
He
played.
went all Avatar on them.
I never played the Shadow of Mordor, the title before this, but
Yeah.
I have a friend who was like, "You have to play this game; it's amazing." My gripe with it is they're squeezing so much out of the Tolkien universe that it seems like they really should have stopped a while ago. But from what I've been told, the concept gameplay of basically recruiting, like because it was the Nemesis system in the first game, where
Right.
you kind of built up like you defeat generals in the Dark Army, and like it kind of changes how they perceive you, and like, oh yes, now you have a nemesis who's out to get you, and but this one is like, oh yes, I'm going to take control of them, and it's like, oh, that means you're kind of a bad guy in this one because you're basically just taking over orcs to kill other orcs. Like, I don't see this ending well. Like, I see it ending on a very dark theme. But I'm also
You become Sauron.
well, no, because they keep mentioning like they mentioned Sauron several times. I'm like, no.
You become new Sauron.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting. But like I love the Lord of the Rings books. I love the movies. But like I really feel like they are trying to squeeze blood from a stone with this. Like they should have stopped a while. Like there's not really a good extended universe for Lord of the Rings because Tolkien was very precise about like certain events, certain things. Like you could go way back in time to where before Sauron became evil, and deal with all of that, but that's all exceptionally boring because he wrote it to be very boring. It's all very historical. It's all very historical fact. So it lacks a lot of the emotion and action that the trilogy and the Hobbit had, but like if I never know how to actually
I guess
pronounce
that's
it.
kind of why they have to focus on unique gameplay things to
Yeah,
get people to actually play the games.
yeah, because I forget specifically how to pronounce it, like the Silmarillion.
Silmarillion.
Silmarillion was just like the driest book ever. Like it was so bland. It was so boring. I only
Yeah,
got like
that's supposed to be one of the probably the tougher of the reads between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings.
yeah. It was just it was so much. Like I never even finished it. I couldn't because it was too much.
Well, it's also supposed to be. It was also supposed to be like a book that contains like 4 separate stories, isn't it?
I don't know. I never got that far into it to know. Because I only got like 3 or 4 chapters in before I'm like I set it down and I never picked it up again. I know it's supposed to be like the history of the elves, and as such, it's just like super boring. That's so mean to say, but uh, but
By the way, I want to say, in previous years before E3, I would always try to watch the full Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended editions. So
just as a tradition.
yeah, sort of that. They're screwing my traditions up with this whole Saturday, Sunday presentations.
Yeah, yeah. This is E3 is like it's like Christmas. It's just taking over. Like I fear in a couple of years E3 is going to be like an entire 2-week presentation.
Whatever happened to just having it on having it just spread over 2 days of presentations.
Yeah. It's like Christmas, we have created a monster that cannot be contained. So
Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
I've heard a lot of good things about Ori and the Blind Forest. I haven't played it.
Same here.
But I've heard a lot of good things about it, and when that trailer came up, several of my friends were super excited about it because they've played Blind Forest and were like, this is just... It's like, they're like, it's very cute, stylized type, but it's also Metroidvania style, so there's a lot of exploration. So, that's... Ori and the Blind Forest, when it was originally announced, was actually one of the few games that made me kind of want to pick up an Xbox. It was Ori and the Blind Forest, Scalebound, and there was one other that I'm blanking on at the moment.
And now Ori's on Steam, Scalebound's canceled, and...
Basically, yeah. I think the other one was the spiritual successor to Panzer Dragoon.
It was Fable Legends.
No.
Which was also canceled.
I'm blanking on the Crimson Dragon. I think it was Crimson Dragon.
Didn't that one do poorly?
That one did so poorly. So one did poorly, one got canceled, and one's on Steam. So like,
it's a game about dragons.
Yeah.
Just be quiet and enjoy the dragons.
Just dragons. So yeah, I think Ori and the Will of the Wisps will... I think it looks good, and I think I'd enjoy it, so...
Okay. And then they did a little thing with backwards compatibility. Xbox games will be coming soon.
Which actually is impressive. That, simply because of the fact that I know a little bit of the tech behind that. So, Xbox emulation kind of hit a brick wall a couple of years ago, like because the documentation of the architecture wasn't really widely available. So like people like trying to emulate original Xbox games, it's been a very uphill battle. So the fact that Microsoft is like, hey, yeah, we're going to do that, that's actually kind of a big deal, because a lot of these games aren't playable in some fashions. Like, the Xbox 360 has some original Xbox backwards compatibility. Like, they made it so some original Xbox games can be played on the 360. Panzer Dragoon Orta being one of them. So, like, I was really excited about that. But then there are a couple of games that are not backward compatible. And so, as such, those games are just kind of stuck on the original Xbox, and there's probably never going to be, playable elsewhere. So if these games manage to make their way to the Xbox One, that's actually a pretty interesting technological feat, because that's a lot of work that Microsoft is doing for what a lot of people would expect to be very little payoff.
Well, the first game that they showed off for it was Crimson Skies, which looked like a sort of like an old-timey fighter.
Crimson Skies, it's a very it's a stylized, it's like Star Fox. It's a dog fighter type game.
Dog fighter, that's the that's
but
the
like they use like, it's got like the Fallout aesthetic. It's like 1950s technology, but like what people from in the 1950s would imagine like the year 2000 to be kind of like. So It's like a lot of rotary planes, but like with weird configurations. Like Crimson Skies was actually a lot of fun multiplayer. That was one of those games that was just really fun to play against friends, because it was very Star Fox-esque, but not, space animals. So,
right.
But there's one original Xbox game that if they make it backwards compatible, I would probably buy an Xbox One, and it's a 3D platformer called Voodoo Vince. You are a little voodoo doll that's going around trying to. I have the game and I have not been able to actually play it because I have an original Xbox, but the disc drive doesn't work to it anymore, so I've never been able to play it. So like, I get to look at the case longingly of I wish I could play this game. So if they can make it backwards compatible on the Xbox One, I'd pick it up. So
So, we've had for sixth generation consoles, we've had the PlayStation 2 on the PS3 and PS4. Now are going to have Xbox on the Xbox One. Hey Nintendo, get on the GameCube already. Get that out there.
that's one of the things that I'm seriously hoping for from Nintendo's conference is discussing the virtual console. They've been throwing a lot of stuff out for the eShop, which is great. I want to see what they're going to do with the actual virtual console. I want to see. I know we're going to get NES and SNES games, and they've talked about a lot of games like that being available from their online service. Like, you have access to these games as long as you're paying their online fee. But I want to know, are we going to get N64 games? Are we going to get GameCube games? Are we going to get Wii games? Like, what's going on? Because there have been so many rumors about Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario Sunshine making their way to the Switch, and I'm like, just make it happen already. Just stop teasing me. Make it happen. So, gotta wait and see on that one.
Yeah. That'll come Tuesday, hopefully. And then we end with the premiere of EA's Anthem, the new IP from BioWare.
Which is like an RPG version of Destiny.
Well, wasn't Destiny supposed to be an RPG version of Destiny?
It was, but it wasn't RPG enough for people. It was too action shootery for a lot of people, and not enough actual like exploration and RPG elements and things like that. So we've got Anthem, which is we're going to take Destiny and we're going to make it like very exploration based, very, you know, like I don't know if there's going to be tech trees or what, but they were talking about how there are different suits of armor that have different functionality. So I don't know how you can build those up or make those even more unique within their that same class. They did show off getting like a specific type of legendary gun, so like that part of Destiny is going to be in there, but
and it sounded like the main character was being voiced by who did the Shepard's voice? Was it Jennifer Hale?
I don't know if that's the main character or if that was supposed to be the player. Because it sounded like those were...
Well, it sounded like there were multiple voices there, and I'm wondering if the voices after the scripted stuff was just people on multiplayer talking back and forth to each other.
I think it was people on multiplayer going back and forth, but like I don't know. Because like once they were actually out in the gameplay sections, like they were talking about, hey, let's get more people, and everyone should, hi, how are you doing? And like they were setting up a plan. So it's like I know there's going to be some sort of voice chat, but I couldn't tell the difference between the main person playing the game and then like the cut scene at the very beginning. I couldn't quite discern if it was a different voice.
Well, to be honest, I don't think there was a lot there. I think I'm just assuming that she's going to be voicing her, and mostly that was because I jokingly said that it was probably going to be a swerve. They're probably going to change things up, and it'd be like, just kidding, it's another Mass Effect game. Anyways, gameplay. like it was pretty good.
I
Looked like it was all right.
I'm probably going to give it a shot. I mean, it is also not an Xbox One exclusive. It's going to come out on multiple platforms. So
Well, yeah. I mean, it's in
it's an EA game.
yeah.
Sadly, probably not going to show up on the Switch, but like PS4, probably PC.
Well, I mean, EA's doing
EA,
like token games for the Switch and neutering them to a point where
they're yeah.
they, where they've already got that press release ready to go, saying that we're not going to
Support the Switch because we're not
support
getting
the Switch anymore because we're not getting sales on the neutered games that we're putting on the Switch.
Which, hey, this is exactly what happened with the Wii U.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, Mass Effect 3 came out on the Wii U at the same time that the Mass Effect trilogy came out on every other platform. Who's going to buy what? Like, yeah. So, I'll wait and see how it looks, but I'd probably pick it up on either PS4 or PC since I have either of those two options available right off the bat. But I kind of want to see a little more of it before I jump into it. I have a friend who really loved Destiny for all of 6 months and then just kind of never touched it again. So I'm wondering if that's going to be kind of the same thing. But I think
It wasn't
that was
6 minutes. It was actually 6 months.
yeah. I mean, he played Destiny a lot. He went in, I think, through the first set of DLC that came out for it. So played it for a while. But I never got into it, so I could see myself being about the same as that for Anthem. It's oh yeah, it looks cool. Maybe I'll get into it one of these days, and then just never actually do it. But I do enjoy a lot of multiplayer games, so if it's got the multiplayer down like it looks like it's got, I'll give it a try. So, but that's everything for their conference, wasn't it? That was
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Anthem.
It just ended abruptly.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, I have to say it's better than I was expecting from Microsoft. I fully expected them to spend the first half of it talking about, how much RAM the Xbox One X has. Just driving that fact home of how it's got this much RAM, it's got this, it's got this good of a GPU, it's capable of this and that, and TV. But they spent a surprisingly little amount of time on that and then focused on games, which is something that has not traditionally been Xbox's style for their presentations like this. So
I should also say that it felt very much like it was just going trailer the entire way through, and then every now and then you'd get Phil Spencer showing up being like, "Oh, by the way, this is a live event. Here's 5 more trailers. Trailer.
I mean,
So why am I not just on YouTube just looping this, right? Just watching this on autoplay right now.
I mean, that's also kind of I'm kind of glad about that because Phil Spencer just kind of trips me out. I'm okay with him not being on screen for a
And
great
what was
deal
with
of
him only having one shirt?
So it goes back to the same people who did the TV video. One of the things they did an abridged series of videos for E3 one year, where they just constantly talked about how each time he came out on stage, he was wearing a different T-shirt underneath his jacket to kind of promote whatever it is he was talking about next. So he had 3 or 4 different T-shirts. So it was really amazing that he went through the entire presentation this time wearing only one shirt.
I should also say that during that reveal presentation, well, actually not during it, but during like when they were viewing it that night, the guys from Far From Subtle, they they noticed that he was wearing like either two watches or
Yeah.
two.
I've got two different watches, so I never forget when to eat breakfast. Was
And
one
so
of them.
they decided to, for some reason. Oh, and they also thought that one of the watches was like it was like inverted or reversed or something like that, where the face was actually against the skin rather than pointed out. And they're like, you know what, we could probably do this. Let's. And then they decided to do have one of the guys just sort of flip his watch in reverse and wear it like that for a little bit, and they called it wrist cross.
Uh,
Yeah, they got really bored during that part of the reveal presentation. I think it was actually during the one of the Force sections.
yeah.
So, uh, so yeah. Any best moments of the presentation?
Really, I was kind of surprised with the backwards compatibility, and there were a couple of games that really stood out, like Dragon Ball Z, um, The Last Night, and Code Vein. All really kind of, it's like, oh, these are really awesome games. And the thing is, I think I think two of the three of those are on multiple platforms. So, like, I just saw it first on the Xbox thing. So, but, and then of course Terry Crews was probably the best part of the entire thing. So,
Yeah, Terry Crews was definitely a positive. I think the positive the best moment for me for that. What would it have been? I'm gonna go Artful Escape. That was crazy.
it's like, hey, this looks interesting. Oh my god, I'm on drugs. What's someone slipped something into my drink? What am I seeing?
Although I gotta say the best moment so far, I think probably is A Way Out from EA's conference. That's probably my the best of the presentations so far.
Well, we're in the early days of E3, so we've got
We got Bethesda tonight,
yeah,
as
we're
well
recording
as
this,
Digital Devolver. I am not staying up for those.
yeah, I'm not staying up for that.
I'm watching that after Ubisoft.
Yeah, I'll catch those later.
Ubisoft's tomorrow. Sony is tomorrow as well, and then there's Nintendo on Tuesday.
Yep.
So we'll have more of these
Yeah.
as the presentations commence.
Yep. All right, so thank you all for tuning in and listening to us ramble about Microsoft's E3 event. So